Okay, thanks for you. Okay, let me start. My dear colleagues of English all over the globe, it gives me honor and pleasure to invite you all to attend our professional webinar entitled CLIL in Project-Based Learning, Learning for Life. So, we have a great presenter today, Dr. Maria from Argentina. Let me introduce her biography. We have today Dr. María Vergara Aibar, teacher of English, researcher, teacher trainer, and speaker with experience in all school levels. She holds an MA in Education and Professional Development, UEA, UK, and a doctorate in Human Sciences, UNCA Argentina, specializes in ICT in education and in cultural studies. He has written articles on ICT in teaching, literature, rural schools, and educational research. So, our topic today, or the abstract or topic, teaching through project, is one of today's methodological alternatives. New trends in teaching and learning have been developing in order to cater for 21st century skills and knowledge. All these student-centered approaches will be discussed and reflected upon in this webinar, along with theoretical undertones and school-based examples. So let's have a nice time today with our great presenter, Dr. Maria.
Many thanks, Fatma. Thank you, everyone, for this opportunity to present this webinar on CLIL in PBL Learning for Life. So here is the title, and I'm very glad to work with Egypt and to talk to Egyptian teachers in this time. Well, the topics we are going to see today are teaching through projects, because I know that this is a topic that you have you are working with, yes, so far in your curriculum. Then we're going to see some theoretical underpinnings about generative knowledge, and in generative knowledge we are going to see some thoughts of David Perkins. Then we are going to delve into the student's agency, yes, and in the student's agency we are going to see Sarah Mercer's different advances in the research regarding student-centered approaches. And finally, we are going to deal with CLIL and Learning for Life, talking about what is being done in schools, yes, in Egypt, in Argentina, in different levels, regarding content language integrated learning. So these are the things we're going to cover today in an hour. If you have any doubts, if you have any question, I ask you to jot down the questions, yes, in the chat box here in YouTube, and then we're going to discuss it further, all right? Well, thank you very much again. Thank you very much for coming along this session. And we will start with teaching through projects. As Fatma kindly said, I am an English teacher, and I've been working with projects so far in primary settings, in kindergarten, and even in tertiary schools and postgraduate studies in different universities. So having this background, I am also a speaker to different teaching contexts. So I'm going to share some of the things we do along with some colleagues. In number one, we have teaching through projects. Well, projects is a trend nowadays in teaching, yes? And we have different methodologies, trends, approaches, yes, that had to do with projects. In this case, we're going to see some. PBL, as you know, already know, is project-based learning, yes? And in PBL, we are working with one methodology from the very beginning to the end, yes, with the topics concerning two very emergent issues. Inquiry-based learning is something similar to project-based learning, yes? So they are, all of them are sort of similar in the methodology. And I think there's no problem if we are applying one or the other. Yes? Inquiry-based learning, yes, focuses on the students researching on different topics, yes, for their projects. So your students will delve into different contents, set of contents, and then this is the project they are going to do along the units. STEAM projects, yes, this stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, is another kind of project-based approach into teaching. Mainly, this kind of project is done with robotics or workshops or schools and high schools which deal with technical issues, yes? But it doesn't mean that we cannot use in regular classes, yes? So we can use that with a lot of preparation, with different subjects, dealing with the building of a project. Another trend that is today one of the probably most common one is problem-based learning. It's also called PBL, but in this case, the center of the initiatives is a problem. So the students start with a case, with a problem to be inquired. And this problem is something that has to do with the unknown. So it's not a problem that the students can easily work with. It implies a challenge for it's a cognitive challenge, yes? And they have to work in groups, work in teams with the community, yes? So the methodology of all these are almost similar, but perhaps the approaches or how they start with is the difference. Well, I know that in Egypt, you're working with object-based learning, which was new for me as well. And I find it very interesting. I've been searching a bit on that. So as you are working with problems or with probably a machine or something to inquire, in this case, you have an object to work with, yes? So all the units and the whole unit has to do with this particular object. And I see many of us have done this. For example, in my case, working with arts, yes? I've been working with different paintings, like Impressionist paintings by Van Gogh, for example. So you are working with one object, and from that object, you develop a project. There's another movement nowadays that is worth mentioning, which is the maker movement. The maker movement is mainly done with teenagers. Yes, teenagers are probably prompted to work in different areas of science and technology, and they run their own business. So maker movement is something new and something I think very straight to the point, and it also has to do with inquiry, with some steps, yes, as a project. But here we have two pictures, similar pictures. As you could see, we have questioning as some of the steps, yes? Questioning, planning, researching, creating, improving, and presenting. But in this case, in the first picture, yes, we have the teacher in charge of all the steps, and the students are in charge of just the last 3 steps: creating, improving, and presenting. This is not bad. I think most of the things we've been doing in projects in our classrooms have been with this model. Because I think there's a timeline, yes, since we initiate with projects till the moment when we use projects as something already worked and with more experience. So this is probably at the initial phases of our teaching with projects. Yes, teacher in charge of the questions, teachers in charge of the planning, yes, and probably the students doing the research, the creation of the models, of anything they have to do, and the presentation. In this second stage, as you could see here on the right, the student along with the teacher, and the teacher is now a facilitator withdrawing him or herself, the student is the center, and the student is in charge of the questioning, finding the right question, yes, what is the thing they want to work with in this unit, the planning along with the teacher, how are you going to plan the different steps of the project, yes, so you can work collaboratively among groups and groups with the teacher, yes, and that's what I said. We need perhaps some time, maturity, experience in order to come to that stage. So researching the creativity phase, the improving phase, it means after you have the feedback from the teachers and other groups, the peer feedback, you are improving their projects, they're improving their projects, and then the different ways of presenting it. So this is the ideal stage, but it doesn't mean that we are wrong if we are in this stage. This is probably the most traditional one. But anyway, it's a step further. So we need time, we need practice, we need experience, yes? Projects of this sort is, for example, if you are studying language, you could write a poem the same way the writer has done it. For example, a Shakespearean sonnet, try to write a Shakespearean sonnet as well. Or perhaps you are doing a poster in literature, yes, or a poster about different areas, social sciences, natural sciences. Perhaps you are doing something in your neighborhood, in your community, yes. So this stage is perhaps one of the first ones, but it's not bad to start here. With experience, we will come to work together along teachers and students. If you have any comments or if you have any question, remember to jot down the questions and we are going to deal with the questions afterwards. Thank you very much for the ones who are connecting. Well, and here I am showing part of the books that you are working with in Egypt, which is Connect. I personally found this book very useful, and I think you are on the right track with the kind of topics, the organization, the way the book has been framed. And I just taken some clips of the books on lesson 6 of the different units. It deals with the projects. you have the whole unit, you have the presentation of the unit, you have the vocabulary, the pronunciation, the grammar of the unit, but also you have a section for CLIL and a section for projects. Even though projects need to be in tandem with the whole unit, if you have in the book one part, one lesson devoted just for project, at the very end is not bad. Yes, you are on the right track. Yes, advancing on that. So in this unit, for example, they've been working with environment. So the project will have to do with water pollution. The same way for clothes and the same way, for different other topics in the different units. As you could see, many of the books that we have today have to do with exploration, working with projects, working outside the classroom, yes? So in this way, I think Connect is doing a very good job. Okay, let's go to the next slide. And now, what does it mean to teach with projects? Teaching with projects involves cognitive development. Yes? When the students are engaged with a project that is something unknown for them and they need to discover, it is, of course, cognitively challenging. Yes? So there's a cognitive development on the part of the student. There's in-depth inquiry. If you want to solve the problem, if you want to answer the question, if you want to build a model with STEAM, with PBL, with problem-based, with make a movement, there's always a deep inquiry on the topic, on the antecedents, on the state of the art, and the brainstorming of ideas. Dealing with projects is also multi-skills. If you have to present the project, you need ICT, yes? You need the digital resources. And if you need to research and go further on it, you need encyclopedias and you need to deal with books or Googling information, seeing how verify the information, work with others, yes? And also writing about that. So it's multitasking, multi-skills. Also, working with projects. The projects are something the students like to work with, so they are engaged in the project. It's emotional, there's emotional creativity. So there's emotional engagement with the topic. And this is very, you could see this in primary schools, in secondary schools, even with adults, that they are very much engaged with the creative issue, the creative part of the project. Authenticity and real life issues. Well, this is the new trend in projects, that we are not going to deal with projects just with the things we have in the textbooks, but something that has to do with the problems we suffer locally and globally. Yes, so in both terms, we need to manage the projects we are doing or dealing with. Authenticity and real life issues. There's personal and collaborative commitment. If you're engaged, you can commit into the project. Yes, you have this commitment, your willingness to do it. Finally, students' voice and choice. As you could see along this list of different possibilities or benefits, the students are the center of the process. And we are going to see in other slides that we need to cater for the students' voice and choice. And this is a process. We cannot do at the start of something. We need some time. We need experience. Yes, and this rapport between teachers and students. Well, now I have some questions for you. You can do it in a Padlet, but if you don't have the link, I want you to write on the comments in YouTube, yes? What other benefits have you experienced with teaching through projects? If you have something else, more benefits than the ones we have said. Yes, we have mentioned emotional commitment, inquiry, deep inquiry, cognitive challenging. What other things do you think are the benefits of teaching with projects? You can drop your answer in the chat box. Okay, you can start writing, yes, writing your comments. And we are going to read the comments along the webinar, okay? Well, in the second part of this session, we are going to deal with generative knowledge. I don't know if you are acquainted with generative knowledge before. If you know something about that, this is very important if teachers are to be the content writers of the curricula. Generative knowledge is a concept that we have taken from David Perkins. You know? This is Mr. or Dr. David Perkins, and he deals with learning for understanding. David Perkins works for Project Zero, or worked for Project Zero at Harvard University, along with Howard Gardner as well. Well, his learning for understanding has to do with active discovery, challenging performances, the ability to think and act, cyclical and reflective process, scaffolds, activities, and group interactions. These are some of the many possibilities of learning for understanding. And with David Perkins, we are going to work with some concepts. For example, learning, for example, understanding, and for example, generative knowledge. So here we have that understanding is very important. Learning may occur because when you learn by heart, you learn figures, you learn concepts, theories, but understanding means that you can apply them in different contexts, that the knowledge could be transferable to other situations in real life. So that's why it is active knowledge. It's challenging and it's cyclical, it's reflective all the way through and has the ability to think and act. Teachers need to scaffold, yes, these activities for the students. Mr. David Perkins has worked a lot regarding intelligence, learning, and understanding. So let's see what he says regarding that. Schools and teachers need to be aware of the importance of understanding and its role in creating generative knowledge. Knowledge that has value across multiple areas of the curriculum that can be built upon by students as they encounter more reasons to apply it. So you can see here that generative knowledge is knowledge that is comprehensible, that is fully understood, and has value across many subjects. What about learning? Learning for David Perkins is a consequence of thinking. It's flexible and active use of knowledge. Good thinking, he says, is learnable. So everyone can do it. It's not just for a few people. So learning is possible, and learning, it implies thinking, and thinking is also learnable. Deep understanding. When you learn, you have a deep understanding of something. Yes, you can teach with that, you can do other things with that, you can transfer the knowledge to other areas. So we have dealt with understanding, and we have dealt with learning. Yes, with learning and understanding, it also comes generative knowledge. Here we have two faces of a coin. We have the fragile knowledge, and we have, on the other hand, generative knowledge. On the one hand, fragile knowledge deals with something that is missing, yes? Exposed to, but can't be remembered afterwards. You know that our memory stores something for a very short period. If it is not memorable, we are not going to retain that information. Also, it is inert. So it's there, but you can't do anything with it. So it's the knowledge in your head, in your schemata, but you can't transfer it to other situations in real life. It's naive, so it's simplistic, stereotypical, or wrong. It's something that you learn, but it doesn't have a real connection, a real link to other important issues. So this is naive, inert, missing. But also it is ritualistic, pattern useful for school tasks and nothing more. Patterns of learning, it means something that we are used to at schools. So we are used to receive information, learn them by heart, store it, but as something inert, not with a further use. Whereas generative knowledge, which is something that I want you to have clear and to use as teachers, has to do with retention and understanding. This is knowledge which is transferable. So we can apply it, put it into practice in different areas, or we can connect different areas or fields of study with this knowledge. For example, environment. Another key feature is that you can apply knowledge across domains. So you can use this information about environment in social sciences, in natural sciences, in civil rights, in mathematics, art, technology. Also, knowledge is for life. This is very different from the ones we've said before, the naive one, just learn it. Whereas knowledge for life is something that teachers and students work together and even the community. So everything you do, understand, or perform has a meaning for your life and for others. Also, David Perkins speaks about the whole person knowledge, because it doesn't, we are not talking just about a topic or a knowledge that is for improving, for credits in a subject or at the university or in primary settings or secondary schools. It goes beyond. It has to do with my being. It has to do with my emotions, my own skills, the soft skills we need to develop, the capacities, the capabilities we need to train in, yes, in this learning path. So the whole person is involved. The whole person is important in this case. Everything we need involves the self, mine and others. And this, says Perkins, requires good thinking. And you know that the good thinking is learnable. Yes? So we teachers are the ones who are responsible for this kind of approach. If we teach them to think, if we teach our students to intervene in the community, to change things, to be change agents, this is probably the mission, and this makes learning memorable. So good thinking is possible because good thinking is teachable, is learnable. And we teachers are the guiders, the facilitators in this process. Well, I hope you have differentiated both knowledges, the fragile and the generative. Here I've introduced some examples with pictures that are very well known, and you can find them in different sources, yes, in the internet. Here you have different spots with different colors, and we consider it knowledge. But this knowledge is disconnected. This knowledge doesn't have relation from one another. This knowledge does not tell me anything yet. Through experience I mean working with projects, involving with CLIL, involving with issues that are really important globally, we find certain relations between these knots. And now they are not just spots, they are knots. And the knots are connected, yes, in a fashion. And these knots, there's a flow of knowledge among all these knots. And this flow may change. Perhaps for one project, these very dots are connected as nodes. But next time, this node has to do with the others on the right. And this node could be people, could be a good book, could be experience, could be a head in institutions. So everyone or everything that helps me do something. I find this relation between the dots. Going further, you can find significance to these dots. Yeah? So in this case, with innovation and creativity and your commitment as a change agent, as Perkins says, you can find something significant in what you are learning or in what you are teaching, in what you are accompanying at schools, because we are facilitators. We facilitate learning, and we facilitate that the students make their connections, their relations, in order to make sense of what they are doing. And this involves the whole person. Well, as we have said, that the nodes or different knowledge could be connected and making sense, we are going to do an activity in order to see how generative knowledge works. Remember that the books we have shown connection, and the books we have, even in our country, in different countries, you have all the topics in a sort of organization that is telling you something. The organization could be from the most general to the most specific, or the connection could be the topics in a continuum. Whatever the fashion, whatever the organization, they have a meaning in themselves. And we are going to see how we can generate as teachers this knowledge. All right, I hope you are ready, and think about your class, think about your group of students, the setting, because this is across context. We are going to analyze the context of these group of students in order to start developing my own curricular design or project. For example, in this case, we have one example, which is the environment. Environment is a very hot topic nowadays, and it has been for a long time, isn't it? So we take these emergent topics, we call it emergent because they are important, they are relevant for our lives. When we want to go on exploring on the topics we are going to present to students, for example, for 2023, we can think about one of these topics, which is environment. But then my question is, what in environment do you want to work with? Perhaps you could say, you could start brainstorming, you could say maybe pollution, maybe animals in danger. So I take one, pollution, and I say, in environment, you would like to work with pollution. In pollution, what else do you want to work with? For example, water pollution. This is another set of contents within pollution, within environment. And I could say, what about that? And you could say plastic bottles. And my question again is, environment, pollution, water pollution, plastic bottles. What about them? You could go on, yes, further and further, saying, for example, sea animals in danger. And sea animals in danger, plastic bottles, water pollution, pollution and environment are not just dots with no connection. In this case, you are connecting the dots because sea animals in danger are in danger because of the plastic bottles which contaminate the water, pollute the water in our environment. So as you could see, there's a line of thought connecting each beat. This is the way you and your teachers, the group of teachers working collaboratively could do when designing topics for upcoming years. So this is one unit. We call it didactic sequence. We may call it didactic unit or units. What have we done in generating this knowledge? We have done some reflection, which is one of the most important relevant topics or emergent topics. Then we have started brainstorming ideas or topics. environment, pollution, animals, droughts, floods. You may expand as you would like. Then, after the reflection and the brainstorming, we have a wave of ideas. I haven't done that because it could have been much more. I just included the ones that has to do with one path. Once you have the wave of ideas, you can add your opinions and say, from animal extinction, we can deal with cut down of trees and whatever. So this wave of ideas will be connected to our opinions on that. Out of these opinions, we are going to choose and select just one root of contents. So we are going to deal with or find the topic we are going to work with in this unit. I hope you understand what I'm doing. This is just an example, yes, of generative knowledge. David Perkins, in his books, he has 2 or 3 examples, more elaborated, in chemistry and other subjects that has this same steps in developing, in finding deeply the issues we need to face globally. It could be something we need to face in our institutions, in our regions, in our countries, or in the whole planet. Yes? So this is the value given to the issue. The wider the issue, the more important it is as for its relevancy and importance. We call it emergent topics. Emergent topics are not always, not all years the same. Perhaps 2 years ago, the emergent topic was COVID-19. In 2021, the emergent topic has been, for example, going back to the normal. This year, emergent topic could have been hybrid lessons, coming into times with different methodologies or whatever. Emergent topics is something that has to do with problematic areas in our regions or worldwide. Let's see something about emergent topics. One case of emergent topic could be health, or could be economy. Also, it could be well-being. Perhaps it would be citizenship. Freedom could be another one. Technology, yes, and many others. As we said, COVID-19 within health, yes, we have different topics that could be called emergent, yes, and it's for us teachers to distinguish in our settings across contexts, across classes, which are the emergent topics we need to deal with during the whole year, the school year. If we deal with emergent topics, we are giving our lessons something connected to life, to real life, and the life of those students, connected to the life of your institution, your country, your region, and also worldwide. So as you could see, these dots are connected, and probably after they have worked with the project, they could make sense. So you can figure out cats or any picture, yes, at the end of the tunnel. Health, economy, well-being, citizenship, technology, freedom, What else? Can you tell me in the chat box, what other emergent topics would you think of? I will be reading your examples, yeah, as we go on. Emergent topics is transcendent knowledge. So it's not naive. It transcends. It is important nowadays and beyond. Real life situations, global issues. It means global and local. Skills for the 21st century. For our students and for teachers as well. We teachers need to go in tandem with the changes in today's world. So skills for the 21st century, skills for life. And the emergent topics, if we are skillful enough to find them, to work with other teachers and develop this curricula out of emergent topics, we are going to face real problems in our classes. Even if it is first graders, with first graders, or kindergarten, or postgraduate studies at the university, we can deal hot issues in different ways. Collecting, recycling, cleaning spaces, doing propaganda, so many actions we can take, we can do with that. And in that case, we are going, yes, to see, we can remember what David Perkins had told us, yes, that the knowledge has to have significance and has to be with the whole person and with life. So it has connections with different domains, sciences, arts, physical education, music, dances, and it's multi-dimensional. Because in health, suppose we are working with health, we can take it to talk in physical education, we can deal with healthy habits. In biology, we can deal with healthy food. Or in languages, we can talk about a diet and how to prepare a dish, for example, which is healthy, which is more convenient for adolescents, for example. So it's multidimensional and it takes a lot of different dimensions, skills, abilities, and capabilities to deal with these units with emergent topics. I hope this is clear. If you can drop in the chat box your ideas about emergent topics, I'll be very glad. Well, I wanted to show here some pictures of the book you are using, yes, Connect. In this case, you have unit number 2. And in unit number 2, you are dealing with health. Yes, I want to be healthy. So the whole unit is prepared with this topic. And here I've taken a picture of the contents. And you could see theme 1 and theme 2. Yes, it's dealing with 3 different units each one. And if it comes to children, remember that according to psychological development, they need to be understood, or you need to talk about themselves. Yes, me and my world, me and my school, my family, my friends, my pets, my hobbies. So everything that has to do with concrete things around them is a hot topic. It's an emergent topic for them. Healthy food is something also very urgent in children's lives. So dealing with this is really very important. That's why Connect, I think it's dealing with the topics that children need to discuss critically. In unit number 1, we plant our food. Yes, and if you could see, this has to do with content integrated learning with CLIL. I want to be healthy, and how do I look? Then in theme 2, you have again myself and others, because it's my world, yes, especially in that age. Looking after our world, yes, taking care of the world, being engaged with environmental issues, jobs we do, what is the weather like? So environment has to do with weather, has to do with inquiries and action, yes? David Perkins calls for actions. Knowledge to be important or generative, it needs to be for action, not a naive knowledge. So I think Connect is very helpful talking with these contents for primary schools. If you can send your the emergent topics into the chat box, I could be reading your ideas as well. In the third part of this webinar, we're going to see students' agency. Students' agency is important to deal with because everything we have covered today has to do with students. Students are the center of our productions, of our teaching. Yes? Sarah Mercer is a linguist, but also is a psychologist of language. And she's been dealing with these topics of motivation, engagement, teacher well-being, because she says that if the teacher is okay, the teacher is cognitively able to do a lot. Yeah? So it's very interesting her work, her research. And you could find many videos of her in internet, along with Herbert Pucha. They have written a book for teachers. So I think she's been one of the researchers who is working a lot nowadays. Let's see what Sarah Mercer says. She says that students demonstrate agency when they influence and direct their own learning, make choices. So they are engaged with having a voice and choice. Yes, influence and direct their own learning, making choices. They have a voice, opinions, ask questions and express wonderings. And here they are free to go. They have a voice, they can suggest. When you prepare them for projects, whatever the stage you are in, they are the ones who decide on what to work with within the project within the emergent topic you have set. Yes? So they have an opinion, they deal with questions that are really intriguing them. So it's making them very curious. And if they are curious, they are engaged. Communicate understandings. Yes, whatever they are finding, you remember that understanding has to do with action, with active learning. This active learning should be shared with for peer feedback, for presentations to the teacher and others, to the community. Yes, so communicate understandings is part of the agency. Agency is a role in the process. And they construct new meanings. If they are researching, if they are inquiring, they will find new meaning to things. The cat of the dots, they will find their cat. They will find their meaningful, the meaningful ideas or projects they are doing with others. Because their self is involved. They participate in and contribute to the learning community. If they are doing these projects with others, with peers and the community, trying to solve something, to discover something, of course, is beneficial to the community. It could be the institution, the neighborhood, family, the region, the country. I will summarize Salma's ideas about students' agency or learners' agency with 3 words: yes? Voice, choice, ownership. They need to have voice, choice, and ownership of their projects. Now, high agency and low agency has to do with, for example, student-centered, but teacher-centered is low agency. Student voice and authoritarian voice is low agency. Constructivism, transmission, active, passive, doing, watching, elective, compulsory, obligatory, intent participation, and here is assembly line, like in the factories, in control or programmed. And in this picture, it's just showing traditional ways of teaching, where the teacher is the center, giving the material, yes, and the students are just taking this information, or you are working together in a cyclical way, as David Barkins shows. Okay, how much student agency have we applied so far in our classes? Is it easy to do it? Are there any recipes? Or we are doing it while we are putting this into practice? There are no formulas. It's your practice. That's why at the beginning of this session, I said that working with projects could have many names. There are many names. There's an umbrella of terms that has to do with projects and methodologies. But take this the first step. Let's start introducing something. Let's give voice and choice to your students little by little, and then you will be building, constructing, scaffolding classes that have to do with life. These questions are up to you. We can discuss further, yes? And number 4, at the end, we are going to deal with CLIL, Content Language Integrated Learning. And here we can see some definitions, calling it an approach, a meaning-focused learning method, bilingual education situations, or an educational approach. I'm interested in just showing that with CLIL, we can face different contents. Of course, we have skills and capabilities as working with others, communicating things, the things that I've inquired. Cognition, all cognitive processes are involved. Even the proximate developmental zone. Culture is implied in this because we are working with different topics and it could be with the communication between culture, a brotherhood of cultures. Content language integrated learning has to do with target language, teaching things, different contents in language 2. It means in the foreign language or the second language. So, and I will take some words from Chomsky, who says that to learn a language, we need to immerse our students into English or whatever the language it is. So, target language, different fields of knowledge, grammar, biology, geography, history, sciences. You have technical terms and information, and also you learn something, technology, you learn about biology, you learn about microscopes through English, through the second language or the foreign language. Yes, this is CLIL, and we can do it during the whole unit, or we can devote, as in Connect, the book Connect, in one of the lessons. Yes. Here you have examples from Connect. Yes, here you have CLIL for mathematics, CLIL for science, according to the different topics. You can deal with that. I will show you here, I've been dealing with English for Arts, for example. We can go and see this web page. I have the units. In arts, I've been dealing with paintings, elements of art, drawing within the arts. And then I've dealt with paintings, and unit number 2 with music. Yes, in music we have kinds of music, instruments, integration. In unit number 3 with dances. Yes, here we have seen dances with different activities, web page, routines, and then we had some other units with different ideas. Another thing that I've been doing is teaching to nurses. In this web page, you will see the different units that I developed. First, talking about the health facilities, the places, yes, and in that unit you have different lessons like the places, the maps, or the plans of the hospitals, giving directions and personal information, for example. In unit number 1, you go to the general issues on nursing. Unit number 3 about the personnel, yes, you have lessons like health personnel and nurses' jobs. And unit number 4, you deal with illnesses. And unit number 5, you deal with equipment and supplies and the treatment. So you can organize the set of contents, yes, following this generative knowledge. I don't have much time, but you could go on seeing this PowerPoint, which will be available, and inspect the way we can organize the different sets in the curricula. Here you have an example. For example, the first lesson in a unit would be health facilities, then talking about the personnel, illnesses, treatments, equipment and tools, and alternative medicine. So at the end, you present the project. But along the way, the students are, from the very beginning, from the very first class, they are doing activities such as flashcards, plans, infographics, models, digital presentations. And at the end, they present all together. Here I have a Padlet with different activities from the students. We can discuss afterwards. And I want to finish with this quotation: the best teachers are those who show you where to look, but don't tell you what to see. So thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope we can meet again sometime again to go on talking about projects in our classes. Thank you very much, Fatma. Thank you very much, teachers in Egypt and the ones who have come along. Thank you.
Really, I can't find the words. A great thank you message to your wonderful and outstanding presentation today from your discussion about this topic.
Thank you.
And for your team.
If you have any comments you would like to share from the audience or questions. They have said something about learning environment, create a safe learning environment. Yes, a safe learning environment is very important. Yes, this is what Moonlight says. The teachers are the ones in charge of engaging the students through these environments. Yes. Motivation, they say. Yes, okay. Well, anything you need, you have there my email. So if you want to contact, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Walter, if you want to close it.